let's say the proxy provider is advertising that they have 1 hour sticky session. This, in reality, if it's a real residential proxy, might not be possible because this is a device of a real user. They can log out anytime. You don't have control over that, right? So that's why it's important to check with the provider, with the proxy provider, what's going to happen if this happens. So what proxy do you provide? Are you going to provide the IP from the same region, from the same city, state, whatever? Because otherwise, it's going to be inconsistency again.
Hey, what's up? This is Stan, and we are here at Affiliate World Bangkok. And here with me, it's Martin. Martin is a representative from Smart Proxy, and today we actually are meeting each other for a second time. We saw each other and we talked on Barcelona event. Today we have a special topic for you, specifically related to account bans and restrictions. But before we go deep diving into this topic, Martin, what's up? How's it going?
Going really well, enjoying the environment here. It's a little bit hotter than I expected. But yeah, it's amazing. So many people, so many companies. It's absolutely perfect.
So Smart Proxy is a proxy provider. Duh, right?
Yes, the smart proxy. Yes, absolutely.
And you also, so there's many use cases how a proxy can be used. And one of the, let's say, not most popular ones, but like a popular use case that many of people here on this conference talk about are account management, like
Absolutely.
Facebook accounts, Google accounts, TikTok accounts, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, basically we are working alongside with Multilogin, and we help clients with creating the accounts, right? So in order to create the accounts in a correct way, not to get banned, you need proxy technology, obviously, to manage the accounts as well. So yeah, we are really happy about cooperating with Multilogin. So yeah, essentially that's one of the use cases for proxy technology. That's right.
I'm also really happy to recommend Smart Proxy as one of the providers for social media account management. One of the very popular topics are account bans. And I'm sure when users utilize Smart Proxy, they also come to Smart Proxy support and ask why my account got banned. What do you think? What are the top reasons why accounts get banned? From a proxy provider perspective, what are the main reasons why accounts get banned?
Yeah, so basically one of the reasons could be the leaks of the IP. So for example, let's say some clients choose to use free proxies. So with free proxies, basically you don't have good IP, you don't have good connection. So that's why there are leaks of the IP. So basically what happens is that actually the website that you're visiting, that you're targeting, can see the shifts in the IP, and like that, your IP is leaked and you get blocked. So what we usually recommend in these cases is clients can use a website called ipleak.net. So on this website, you can actually check specifically about your connection, like what are the countries, what are the IPs that are relevant to that, right? So that's what we usually recommend. And obviously, what proxy you're using essentially.
In your opinion, what leaks lead to most amount of bans?
So it could be DNS leak specifically, something that need to be careful with. Another thing is WebRTC parameter as well. So that's something that clients need to take care as well.
If you talk about DNS leaks, what do you think? What's the best way to avoid them?
So basically choosing the right proxy, choosing a stable proxy, checking as well, basically having like a test of the proxy, how it works, and making sure that actually this proxy is reliable enough before actually putting it to work in your accounts, right? So to make sure that you have good, reliable system in order to avoid the blocks, right?
So to avoid DNS leaks, you actually have to choose a really good proxy provider.
That's right. Yes, of course.
That's true. We also kind of like analyzed a couple of proxy providers, and really happy that Smart Proxy doesn't have these leaks. If some proxies are configured incorrectly, they can lead by doing DNS checks, they can lead back to the backend server, which the backend server can be in Germany or Israel or maybe in Russia. And if you're emulating a user in, for example, in the United States, then these type of leaks will create a very big inconsistency. I do want to say one thing. Like, even within normal distribution of users, DNS leaks also happen, but they are rare, right? But it also happens. And the reason why it happens is because when ISPs, they kind of like situated in one country, and then they give off internet to, let's say, a subsidiary country in a similar country. Then DNS leak happens, but DNS leak happens in this case that where there's a country nearby. But if it's a proxy, proxy has to be configured. Totally agree with you.
That's right. So there it comes the second issue that is related to account bans, and this is choosing the right proxy technology. So last time in Barcelona we covered specifically that part, but it's good to remind that you need to choose the right proxy, right? So you need to understand, does it need to be a static IP? When you're creating the accounts, what proxy you need to use? When exactly you need to use mobile proxies as well. So it's important to say that you need to have a stable proxy at first place in order to avoid leaks. But also, let's say when you're creating the accounts, you need to use, we recommend clients to use residential proxies. Then for managing the accounts, to use static data center IPs, one of our products. And actually, mobile proxies are something else that works, because with mobile proxies, even if they are rotating, you're still not getting banned because of the nature of the proxy, right?
That's true. So in case of it's just a residential IP that is situated in a home environment, if it changes too often, it can be also a potential problem, right?
Yes. So what happens is that your account gets flagged first, and we actually have cases sometimes when the clients are coming and they are saying, well, my account got blocked. So what happened is that we can't do anything on our end. Clients just need to use the proxy at first place in order to replicate the organic usage, right?
Very true. So I actually met a couple of users here who are just using proxies to manage their Facebook accounts. What do you think? What do you think? Is it a good approach just to use proxies?
Just to use proxies specifically with Multilogin, right?
No, actually, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, is it a safe-proof solution to use only proxies to manage accounts, or you should have something similar to Multilogin or some sort of browser?
Yes, of course, it's always more reliable to have like tool like Multilogin, because Multilogin can also manage the fingerprint, right? So proxy essentially, yes, you can use it only, but if you want to be on the safe side, if you're managing plenty of accounts, you need to make sure that the fingerprint is managed as well. So that's actually another thing that probably you will be able to cover regarding fingerprint. So how is Multilogin helping clients with the fingerprint?
So yeah, a proxy is a good thing because it's one of the most identifiable pieces of information a website can collect. However, and here's where the problem comes, right? So a user wants to change the IP address to seem unique or seem distinct, and then when you change the IP address, all other parameters have to follow. Yeah, there's WebRTC leak that you said, and this WebRTC leak is also like reveals your real IP. So if it's not substituted, then a website can understand that actually, like your actual IP address. Also, there's time zone and geolocation.
That's right. Yes,
right?
yes. That's something super important that you need to be really careful with, because that's how they can detect. Like the website can detect inconsistency between like the proxy, the location of your proxy, the time zone, and the time zone of your device, right? So it's really important when let's take United States as an example, right? We have several time zones in the United States, so it's important when you're getting the proxy shouldn't not only be from the US, but it needs to be from the specific state, right? And you need to make sure that the time zone and the location settings are off in order to make sure that, right, there is no inconsistency between the proxy and the time zone.
True. Quickly coming back to the topic of rapidly changing IP address, if it's let's say a residential IP address. I know Smart Proxy has a timer of 30 minutes, which is actually more than enough to open a profile or even work in a couple of profiles some amount of time. But my question is, if the IP changes mid-session, and it can happen because I might be working with an account for 1 hour, so it can happen in a situation that a residential static IP can change. Is it important to have like the same city and ISP configured?
So yeah, that's actually really important, because it's important to have the same IP from the same location. So that's why
Location meaning city or area or country?
city or area, yes. So it's completely fine with residential proxies, even if the let's say the proxy provider is advertising that they have 1 hour sticky session. This, in reality, if it's a real residential proxy, might not be possible, because this is a device of a real user. They can log out anytime. You don't have control over that, right? So that's why it's important to check with the provider, with the proxy provider, what's going to happen if this happens. So what proxy do you provide? Are you going to provide the IP from the same region, from the same city, state, whatever? Because otherwise, it's going to be inconsistency again.
But is it important to have the same IP from the same ISP?
Regarding that, not sure.
Not sure, yes. We also analyzed this, we saw that if it changes to a different ISP, it doesn't really matter too much.
Okay.
If it's from this, maybe like systems have not developed so far into checking the consistency of the ISP. Don't know why. Maybe it can accept that the user has changed to a different, like, Wi-Fi router, for example.
Yes, actually, you're right.
So it can lead to false positives if such detection method will be implemented.
Yes, that's actually completely organic, because it happens, right? Yeah.
Not just too often, so it doesn't seem very suspicious.
That's right. Yeah, and speaking about that, essentially, probably one of the most important things when managing multiple accounts is to mimic the actions of a person. So you need to be able to replicate organically. So you see, speaking about the ISP, changing ISP, this needs to happen in organic way. And it's the same when you manage the account, right? So for example, specifically in the beginning, when the account is not warmed up yet, you need to make sure that you're replicating the activities of a real person. So it means that you're not going to go and post the same comment under several accounts, or like go and follow immediately 1,000 people. You need to be sure and to be thinking, what would a real person do, right? Especially in the beginning when the account is not warm.
Behavioral analysis is very important, right? So websites, because like IPs can be changed, right? So fingerprints can be changed. What websites, like, what else do they have? They have like big websites that have big data, such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay, maybe Microsoft already. They cannot really rely on fingerprints and proxies detection, because they always change. But behavior is something that, like, a big data allows them to make the process more expensive for people who are managing accounts. So that's very true. There's a lot of, like, maybe intricate details on how to do that. We actually talk about this on many of our podcasts. But I wanted to ask about like one just final question. You also said that you have to go to a proxy provider and ask them how do they treat if an IP has been changed. How does smart proxy treat it?
So specifically about residential proxies, if you choose a sticky session, first of all, clients that are using Multilogin with us, most of them are using our default 10-minute sticky session, and it's totally enough. If something happens and you don't get the same IP anymore, you're going to get an IP address from the same area. So for example, if we say that you selected a specific city in the US or specific state in the US, you're going to get an IP from this specific state or the area around if there is no available IP at the moment. So we do that in order to avoid breakdown in the system and to ensure that it's like smooth actions on the client side, right? Then we also have another product, which is static data center IPs. And basically with static data center IPs, you're getting a list of data center IPs. And essentially they are static. You can do with them, you can rotate them if you need. You can just use them with Multilogin, and they don't change. So basically you're responsible for how you use these IPs.
Understood. Really cool. Thanks very much for sharing this type of information.
Thanks a lot. Always a pleasure. Always.
I think some people who are using some proxies already, some cheap proxies, they should reconsider, because these are your accounts, right? You have to put them to quality resources. Thanks very much for coming, man.